start from the beginning. Again, the beginning is not mamish the ikar nekudas hamaymer. Bosi Legani chesikala. Varba leilula. I said, remember a medrash. The medrash is Legani legununi. That means that Bosi Legani is going on Shas Matan Torah or Shas B'nei Mishkan. So the pasuk uses a mashal that the doid, the ov, comes to the kala, and the lashon that he uses is that the road was Legani. Legani means Lugnuni. This was his pleasurable place. L'makim shayi ikri betchila. L'makim that was where the ikr shchina, the ikr lukus, was betchila sabriya. The ikr shchina betachlein is. B'shah sabriya, betchila sabriya, the ikr shchina was dafke in tachlein. The Chataim Silkas Shchina Matel Ma'ila. That was a Davarnes. The Chataim there was a Silka Shchina. But in Tzadatzme, the way the world was originally created, before Masa Adam got involved, so the Ikar Shchina was Dafka with Achtein. Achagach Om Teshuv Tzadikim, Meshov Shchina Ma'ila Mata, Ad Meish Rabbeinu. Rei Nemes Shekol Yisrael, Shu Hashvi, V'chol Hashvi Chavivin, Shehim Shechsa Shchina Merikia Alef La'aretz. This is not just another stage in the Meshov Shchina L'Mata Rabbeinu. But one stage, and Yitzchak another stage, but this Shlav of Mishov Shchina L'Mata Ba'aretz, that's the Tachlis Einyan, She literally Zerach Tachlein. That's the Tachlis, that's the matter of everything, is in order for it to be the literally Zerach Tachlein Tafke. So that's the best way to ugetan. Akdeshi Yin Zeh Yeh B'Kvius. The day that it should be B'Davash B'Efen Shal Kvius, this Inyan. In the Miyad L'Acham Shos Shchina Mekei Alef La'aretz, which that happened Matan Torah. There's really 2 days in Medrash. This pasuk Bosi Legani chesikala, if it's referring to Matan Torah or it's referring to within a Mishkan. So here the Rebbe is mevayer according to the shitta that is going to be in Matan Torah. So the Bosi Legani chesikala, that's which has Matan Torah is Amshad Shchina Ma'ila Mata that was the Mata Ba'aretz. It's a bit like Zera. But in order for this, the Indian should be B'Kviyah, so that's Nemer Atziv, that's the mitzvah that's the mitzvah of being in a Mishkan. In order for this Hamshacha, B'Lakus L'Mata Ba'aretz should be in a Eifin, that should be B'Kviyah. Different is Beidim, what's the, but Eifin Klali, what the Rebbe is saying here is that should be not just a Matan Torah was a one-time thing, Kaviyachol, but it was given to this Naskayach, that a Yitr who's Aveda should be able to make that the Kviyas, that Lakush should be in Tachtein and B'Eifin Shal Kviyas. Yeah, it's not just a difference if it was a temporary thing or it's a permanent thing, but it's neveh also from the Eifin Inyan. The way it was in Sabbat and Torah was in Sad Lamaylam, shaken through Aveda to be in a Mishkan. So since it's through the Aveda Samata, so the Mata becomes a Keli to Ramshach. So therefore it's B'Kviyas. The reason Matan Torah wasn't B'Kviyas because the fact that it was the Amshach Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz was because it was in Sad Lamaylam. Because the Eibush there is not that the world with Sadatzim was a Keli to the Amshach Selikus. It was Mitzad Lamad, it was Amshach Zolkos Ma'ay Lamata. The uftu of through the Aveda V'Yitru Bin in a Mishkan, so that we make the Mata Keli Telikus. Yes, that's should be when the Mata is also going to the Tachlis is going to be the Keli to the Amshach Lamayla, then it's going to be B'Kviyas, the Gidel Likus Lamata. So that's the B'Kviyas, that was the Tziva, wasn't in this Chantak Bin in a Mishkan, the Mikdash Ikri Mishkan. Mishkan Ikri Mikdash. So when they get to the Mishkan, the Mishkan and the Mikdash are connected. So all the inyanim which exist in the Mishkan also apply to the mitzvah in the Mikdash, which is so it applies to Aveda also today. So when they get to the Mishkan, the lashon pasuk is when they get to the Binyan Mishkan, and vasis krashim the Mishkan as a shitam eidim. Should build the Mishkan with krashim and to make them as a shitam eidim. Mevar baruch, I think it was Mevar baruch and the Maimer that Esi is Kerdish made them aleifen Aveda. That you mahapach in the sheker of Welt to make them into a Keresh. And his Meirich over there by Riches was this hapchus of making from Sheker to Keresh. I don't know if you remember from a couple of years ago. You think? There's the Asis of there's the she's Mevar when you get to the Asis. What's the Asis of Kuf and Reish and Shin? Go. And then the Tachas Aveda is Shiur as a Shittim. As a Shittim means Shtus the Kedusha. That the Lamhaz should be in the Eifen, that the Aveda is a Eifen of as a Shittim, Shtus the Kedusha, was the Malam Betam Bedas. The Eifen Aveda has to be an Eifen of Shtus the Kedusha, higher than Seichel Betavabana. The Eifen of higher, the Aveda should Malam Betam Bedas. Shadezim Esakim is a Shtus the Lumaze. The Amers on the Aveda, I'm getting to the Shtus. By the Zeh, through the Aveda of Keresh, the Mahapach the Sheker of the Lamhaz to Keresh, and the Aveda of Shtus the Kedusha is the Malam Betam Bedas, which is Mahapach the Shtus the Lumaze, Peltman, Hakavana Lias there lays verb at That's one part of the Maimon. So we have so far 2 parts of the Maimon that feed the Rebbe. Tavshin Yud. One part, the first part is when they get to the Etzem Inyan of the the Tachlis Abriya that this Hakadosh Baruch Hu listed to the B'Tachtonim, and that's why the Ikar Shechina L'Chatchila was B'Tachtonim, and the Aveda of Tzaddik Mitzvah Mamshech Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz Dafka. And then there is the second thing is in order for the to be Be'efin Shel Kviyas, the Aveda, in order to be Mamshech, what's for a cert Aveda Mansech, what type of Aveda is needed? An Aveda of being Mahapach, that's Merumas in the Mishkan, Aveda of making the Sheker into Keresh, the Aveda of Shtus Dul Umaz, a person of Shtus L'Kedusha, a person, in order to affect this in of Mamshech Shechina L'Mata, so it's Mansech and Aveda, which is Ne'efin of the Malim Etam V'das, and through that you Mahapach Shtus Dul Umaz, so that's what is Mavard in these. Then he's mamshech another prat. That's we spoke about the aveda which is needed, the aveda of shtus luma, of shtus l'kedusha. And then there is who has to do this aveda. So there's the tachlis aveda is to make dir lizar v'tachtin, and that's the first part. Then there's the guf aveda itself, not the matar not the objective of the aveda, the work itself. That is lafich shtus luma, the nefin of shtus l'kedusha, the malam etam v'das. Then you have the third Indian, who are the people that's supposed to do the aveda. So that's what he says here. Aveda Zu Nasa de Bnei Yisrael. That's the next chelik of the Hemshech Toshin Yud. That the Aveda Zu is done through Yidden Dafka. Kavur Bekam Bekemish Dafka de Bnei Yisrael. Pel Mater Mitzvah Pulas. A guy is going to put on tefillin. You won't be Mamshech any Hamshach. It won't be Pel anything. Dafka Yid. And it's a but the Maimer that's why Yilchin Yikram Bnei Yisrael b'Shem Tzivas Hashem. And he explains there that also use the Lashon Tzivas Hashem is also Meira on what type in Vasfara Eifin da Aveda Dafka Tomber. The fact that Yidden are called Tzivas Hashem is connected not only to the Zman of B'Tzias Mitzrayim, but it's connected to the fact that Yidden are the ones that do the Aveda b'Mamshech the Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz. Tzivas Hashem is meretting in them in. When you get to the Aveda b'Mamshech the Shechina L'Mata Ba'aretz, like Abedem in Yidden are called Tzivas Hashem. What's the Pshat Tzivas Hashem? Lashon Tzava. So there's three Perushim in Tzava. Tzava Lashon Anshe Chayil. I think the Rebbe said in the Maimer of last year, but the guy in the beginning of the Maimer, the Rebbe says that that's the main Pshat. The main Pirush as Negel Aveda when you get the Pirush. Three Perushim of Tzava is Lashon of Chayil. Sheisraelim anshe chayil hamalim hamashlimim es susenish lakadish baruch shel melech macham lakadish baruch. That's the aveda of nefin kabbalah sel, and the aveda of a soldier. That his whole Indian is he mashlim the rasan of the melech. The chayil doesn't have his own mitzias. He doesn't have his own. His whole mitzias is to be mashlim the rasan of the melech. So that's the first pshat of tzavim lashon chayil. There's the kabbalah el mach shamayim, and his whole Indian is lamalis rasan hamelech. Then there is tzavim lashon zman mukbal. That's the where do you see that tzava means hakbala? There's a limit, a certain amount of time that a person has in this world. So tzava is an Indian of limitation, of hakbala, of a set time that a person has. Was weiß das? In some mehr al even aber ich gemeint ist so eben schon slapshes, but bolus as man makom mat since the kavana is to make it literally is better betachtain. So that veda is not a tnua of just he said before a tnua of shtus gdusha shel maile mitam bedas or a tnua of kabbalah sel which is not Hederais Yashvus, it has to be even that it's the Aveda has to be in this Yashvus, and Kima Teres has to be Dafkin Zman Amakim, because the Kavana is to bring a Lukus, Lamata Ba'aretz. Then there's the third Indian that he speaks about, Vitzav, also Lashon Tzivin V'Yofi. She'inin HaYofi Ba, the Eskalus Shakama Gavnim. So that's the Pshat Tzivus Hashem, that by Yidden there has to be the Eskalus of different types, different Kavi Aveda. V'Zal Shavedas B'nei Yisrael, Nasa the Eskalusum Yachad. A Yid can't do his Aved in order to fulfill the Aved of making a Direh B'Tachtonim. It's not genug Kabbalah Samach Shamayim. It's not genug to have the Aved in Eifin of its Yashvus. But there has to be a Skalus, of Achtas Yisrael, to do it. A Yid shouldn't do his Aved B'fnei Atzmei. Eifin that he's only Matgish, his own individual Metzias. Should be an Eifin of his Skalus. Because that's the third type of Tzav of Lashon Yofi, which Yofi comes that when you have a Ribi Skalus. By this through the Aved, same Nishlam Ini, the Asam Mensch Hata B'Seichem, B'chol Prat Avedic Fish Nasim Zad B'nei Yisrael Lamata. The Prat Aveda and the way Dafka Yidden, and the mode, the way Yidden do it. Yeah. So that's, B'Efin Klali, the first two Maimarim, the Hemshech of Yud. This is till Perek Yud, till Sif Yud. It's the Achash Mepali L'Um Sayim B'Chesim Zizam Mar Meresheni B'Nin Anal, which that's the first time Prakam of the Hemshech. Meisiv by Hemshech Levayr, Zakecha Shenes Nemo Maila, the Lamali Lahash Aved. The Fidika starts a new Indian, and this goes and for Meshech Zman in the Hemshech Atashkemat till the end of the Hemshech. So he goes into a whole new Indian till now. He's speaking when he get to the what's the Matara the Aveda. Last days were the Tachtonim. What's the Aveda itself? You have the Aveda of Mishkan, of Keresh, of Sheker, of Shtus L'Kedusha. You have the and after through a Yid, Yid and even of the three Yana that has to be by a Yid. In of Kabbalah Seil, Chayil, in of the Yashas Zman Amakim, from Perek Yud, he starts speaking about the keches which are given Mil Maila to fulfill this kavanah of Lashas Leis Barat Derutachtainu. Nu Indian. Meise behemshech levar sakeresh nesim Mil Malik Del Malik Lahashlam Avedazu. This Indian is Arichas Deilamei. So the Rebbe says that in Sif Yud Aleph he gives Akdama Klos. We're holding still in the Hakdama the Maimer. So Umaktim lezakdama kol zusifir aleph. So last this Hakdama klolus to the whole hemshech what he's going to speak. So in other words, from the third Maimer, so he started to speak a new Indian. Then he get to the Kecha Shemal Maila, which is being given for this Aveda, and he gives us a general Hakdama in Sifir aleph. What's the Hakdama? Muvar. That he gives Hakdama like this. This is last year's Perek, or just he brings like this. Inin atzava kosher u'mulchama. Tzava has to do with war. Tzava has to do with war. Yeah. You could have a soldier could have many tafkidim. I said before, a soldier in Yoni is Lemalis Ratzna Melech. Ratzna Melech could be to be a guard somewhere, not necessarily war. But in general, the musik of Tzava has another. It's connected to war. Where do you see that Tzava is connected to war? So the Rebbe brings from Sina Medrash, when you get the Shem Tzva Islam, the Medrash statement to get to the calling the Eibishter the Shem Tzvagis. So and the Shem Tzvagis the man has to do with the Aveda of Tzava Lamata. The fact that the Yidden through their Aveda of Tzava are mamsha the Inish that the Eibishter should be a Shem Tzva. So statement for the Shem Medrash. When is the Eibishter called Tzva? It's Kshan Yesem Melchama Beresham and Nikra Tzvais. The Medrash have the Maisa and Nikra. That the Eibishter Mitzad Atzmi has no names. He gets a name according to what he's involved in. So the Medrash over there says the B'shas, the Eibishter gets involved with war, Lilchem Mersha, and then he's called Tzava. See that Tzava is not just Chayil, not just a soldier, like they ever said before, but Tzava has to do with war. And now, Heinish close of it is Yisrael Banagos and Ba'ilam, Durkin the Welt, Apia Teiru Mitzvah V'Lichel Shalom Yisrael B'Teirim. So it's a war. There's a war. It means there's a menagid. There's a opposition, a strong opposition, and the person has to battle through his way. It's not like, in other words, they were saying till now, you're saying, have Kabbalah say you're a Chai, have Kabbalah say Ma'ach Shamayim, and you have your do Hashtuz L'Kedush, and all get good. We gave you a whole system how to do it. Mishkan, Karashim, so get it's nicht das. There's a Melchama, there's a big battle. There's opposition, there's Nigudim, and the person has to battle his way. Oh. Now, what do we want to bring out? I was going to giving again a shtick. This is from last year, but Zera Shtar Kazach. So it says over there, the person, everything in Hag and Welt is connected to war. Things don't go easy. There's Yisyenis, and there's Shverikait, and there's a Melchama. Oh. Now he explained that there's two types of Melchamas. There's all Akdama to explain what Farah Keiches does the Eibishter give Yidden in order for a Yid to go through, to do this Aved, the last of the Taflein. It's a war. Now, what do we come to say that it's a war? Every person knows that he has his battles. But we want to say, it's Akdama to explain what type of Keiches and Mamayla are given to succeed in this war. That's all explained in Perek Aleph. The Akdama to what's going to be in the next Perek. It says like this. In Melchama you have two ifanim. There's one ifan Melchama is lishla shalav love his buzz. You have one reason why a king goes to war is in order to. There's a real reason for it. He wants to be marchiv his kingdom. He will wachsen. Wie Vakster, he's leichem in another country, and his power. So that's Melchama that's totally in Tamvadas. There's a reason why he's going to war, and the king is only gonna put at risk if there's going to be if Apicheshbon is going to get a massive gain by this war. He's going to, according to how much the war is going to get, is going to bring him according to the benefit. According to that, he's mashkia in the war. There's a cheshbon. It's based on a cheshbon d'kedusha. You remember this from last year? Remember this? Then that's number one. Then this type of war that when it's lish l'shalav love is buzzed, the melech doesn't give his his real treasures that's really precious to him, the real dvarim ikarim that he hides in his chambers over there, in his treasures, that he doesn't give for this type of war. This type of war, if a king wants to be marchiv his kingdom, so you only give something that's worth the result. So in order to marchiv his kingdom, he's going to give out a lot of money. Let's say he'll give out, but it's only something that's going to be worth, and it's going to be, it's going to make sense to give this amount of investment. Then you have a different type of melchama. For Abbez, there's ikir in a melchama shu b'shul hanitzah, for the sake of midas hanetzach. This is ma'alech in the maimer from midas hanetzach sheyir karatzna melech, not in order to be marchiv his melucha. That he should be victorious, midas hanetzach. That a person, there's a certain midah in the nefesh that there shouldn't be a menagid, mevatel a menagid. That it should be like he wants. In the midas hanetzach, it's a different Indian. This last year, just the push the zach. You have the gashmis, two people arguing. So there's that's most milchamas. Person gets into machlekes. I'm saying in b'tzad shlili. So when a person is the machlekes gets out of hand, then it's going to get in atzchonas, in midas hanetzach. It's not that there's a cheshbon. Why are you going so crazy and you're losing friends and connections and everything in order to win this war? But you can't stand that things shouldn't work out the way you want. It has to be the way you want. The fact that there's a menagid that's opposition to your ratzon, that's negate the issue went over. Person doesn't. You shouldn't be the one losing. You should be victorious over the one that's opposing you. This Indian is again that's nefesh. This is higher than cheshbenis. The Indian that a person should be victorious over a menagid, that he shouldn't let the menagid win over him, but he should win over the menagid. That Indian of natzchana is that's again etzem nefesh. That's midas hanetzach. And for that, there's no cheshbenis that a person is going to give away in order for him to be menatzer, in order for him to win. He should be the one going out with the victory. He shouldn't be the one losing. That the one that's menagid him shouldn't win. He should be the one that's winning. There's no seichel tam bedas. Yeah, that's the richas last year's time. I'm just saying that. It's nicht neged the hemshchad barn. So the ikina macham shu shlan netzach shiur karatz melech. Oh, sagt er das. I was maked. Yeah. Lish the shalav love is boz in shatam bedas. But mele since enough tam bedas, yesh was a cheshbon. Kama keir tzarich lashkiv macham shiur erech hashol. How much is he going to invest in the war according to the how much gain he's going to get from this war? If you're talking about a small little country that is not going to gain so much, he's not going to invest so much energy to get this country. Okay, it's based according to the Tambadas. That's the main milcham, the main where the real battle, the real war, is that the melech is negat to him that his ratzon, that his kav, he should be the menatzer, he should be victorious and be mevatel the menagid. So Zayin the Ervil. Kiven shemeduber this ratzon shekosher etzem hamelech, hariz lamale mikol hacheshbenes lamale mitam bedas. This is my last year in the Ma'amar midas hanetzach is mushish in the etzem. This tnua that a person is neget to him, that the menagid should be in his vatla and the inyanim should be like he wants, he should be the one victorious. That's neget is etzem hanefesh. Since neget is etzem hanefesh, there's no cheshbenes over there. He'll give away everything in order for him to win. In for him to be the winner, he'll give away everything. Hariz lamale mikol hacheshbenes lamale mitam bedas. Why isn't it for us to know this? So they were saying here, Shulchan Idreshes Gam Aveda Mamata leads over Gazeh. By Yid of Erzad Aveda Nazam Sertefer. That same in Alukus Kavyochel. This is Azam Mohammed is Negea Kavyochel the Etzem of Alukus. Where Alukus this Mohammed is Negea. This in making a dir betachlenim is Negea and the premise of Alukus. The way the Eibush is higher than Cheshbenes. So there's that Yid has to invest in the war, not according to Cheshbenes and Tambedas. You have the marshal. If the melech is only involved based on a certain reason, so then there's his soldiers that are doing the war for him. So they also have to see if it's worth it. And not every investment is worth it. Certain things you invest, and certain things you don't invest. The same way the melech itself. Why is he conquering this country? Because he wants to gain something. So it's based on a certain reason. So the whole milchama is based on a tambadas. So you have certain things that's not worth fighting on. It's not worth to fight in a little corner. Masha'inkin, if the melech is involved in this milchama, it's neget to the etzem melech to win, and the etzem melech there's no cheshbenis. The etzem because there's no cheshbenis. So a yid just fighting the war can't make cheshbenis. What's more important? What's less important? You can't say that this to be involved of this menagid is not the end of the world. We don't have to deal with it. There's no cheshbenis. We're dealing with the etzem of alakus. Higher than say to the shlashas, there's no cheshbenis there. So you can't say what's more important to win over, what's less important. There's no cheshbenis. The same way the Sheresh HaMelchama is in the area which is higher than cheshben. Yeah. So that's what it says here. Since this Melchama is connected to the Ras, which is connected to the Etzem HaMelech, which made this Melchama is neveah from the area which is higher than cheshbenis, higher than Tam V'das. So therefore, Yizav also in the Drashas Gam Avedam Matali is Bevin Gazeh. Yeah. Which is Bar Le'ilsha. Avedam Tzrichli is even Shal Shtus T'Kedusha. But this, so here, from here is where it's neget to this member of this year. So since we're dealing with a Melchama, which the Nitzachon of this Melchama is neget and the Etzem HaMelech, the fact that this Nitzachon, that's explained last year in the member, that Midas and Netzach is Mishish and the Etzem. But that's the Maskonas Advarim is that the Melchama, being Menatzeh, this Melchama is neget to the Etzem HaLukus, to the previous HaLukus. Not mitzad cheshbenis, not mitzad hagbala. Mitzad the etzem of alakus is neget to be Menatzeh this Melchama. So therefore, now what's neget to the hemshch to the. So one thing the Rebbe says, therefore the aveda v'yid has to be in the of higher than cheshbenis. And that makes a big difference. Side the tnu of aveda is mal mit avedas, and side the kami cheshbenis. What's more worth? What's less worth? But there is another thing. Since this Melchama, this nitzach is neget the etzem hamelech, the fire is effent up is mevazvis. We give away without any limitations. The most precious, the Rebbe is saying in the Mashal, the most precious eitzers that the Melech has that were hidden in Nikama Deiris, for the sake of this Melchama of Nitzachon and Shabika Ratzna Melech, we're mevazviz, we open them, we're mevazviz them, we give them over to the generals for the sake of the Anshe Echad. So this is in the Mashal. So you have eitzers the Melech has there's certain treasures that are the most precious things the king has, and these were hidden. This is the whole Sheshelas HaMelucha from Deire Deiris. They have these. They're collecting these special H's, these special treasures that they're the Tayas Zachas by the Melech, the most precious thing. And these things are not there. They're not shaykhs. He never shows them to anyone. They're in a whole different level. And apiseichel, these things are it's even more precious than his life in a certain way. I was going to say later. It's more precious than his. He'll never use it even for his own basic needs. If the Melech is going to be starving, he's not going to use from these eitzes to buy himself his inyan, kaviyach, the mashal. These are eitzes that you don't touch. They're the most precious things. You don't touch them. The Melech has to eat, then all the good azachma the Melech darf, he's going to use other monies. He use taxes, other monies that he gets. These treasures that he uses, eitzes from avesa, they're such precious things that they're not used. These are untouchable things. This is the heart of the Mlucha. It's a certain diamond that came from the first one that started this dynasty of this Melech. These things, they're untouchable things in the Mlucha. But for the sake of this midas hanetzach, when the Melech gets into a Muhammad, was for a certain Muhammad that is negating his nitzachin, shebikir tzayni, which this Muhammad is negating his etzma nefesh, then all cheshbenes on his battle. Not only he shows these eitzes, but he's mevazvez them. Mevazvez them means that he gives them away with arhak bolus. Even when you give something precious away, so you're sensitive to what you're giving, you give a part, you're mevazvez them. There's different biyurim. Also in the Bosi Legani Memar, Masachat is mevazvez them. What does it mean? Bizbus. The bizbus literally means that you make something accessible to you make it free for anyone to take. So that's how they'll say the eitzes. Anybody can take the eitzes. Any anshe chayil, even the anoshim pshutim, anybody can take it. It's not for special people by Yidden. The eitzes are given to anyone. And the derech and the mashal, the melech is any chayil, any type of thing, any chayil, the smallest job, the smallest soldier over there, he's given the eitzes achik musim in order for him to fulfill what he has to fulfill to win this war. And the second thing is that it can be used for the glance the klinikite. I mean, if one soldier, his hat is a little bit ripped and need money to repair his hat, they can use the money from these eitzes. So even a bizbus on cheshbenis. That's dafke by azam shert nochamish is negate to the etzem. So when it comes to the etzem melech, alle cheshbenis were in this battle, and the eitzes achik musim, which are untouchable mitzat seichel, are untouchable things. You don't touch it. For this nekuda git man avek atz on cheshbenis. So this is the mashal. So this is the figure we're saying also when we get to the nimshal that there is eitzes yikarim in elikus. There's different dargis in elikus no island. In the keiches of the Eibusher gives a yid. For Yid it says there's different dargis. There's elikus, which is Lubish and say there's different dargis in elikus. There's a darg in elikus called the Eibusher's treasures, and these are the alterach in the mashal. They're untouchable in Yonim, which we don't give, we don't show them generally, we don't give them generally. There's you have in Yonim and elikus kaviyach the primis of elikus, which are untouchable things. They're the most precious things that that no one has access to them, and they're not used for anything. In order for the Milchama, for the Aved of Lashes, the Yizbar Adir B'Tachleinim, which this Aved is again the Etzem of Elikus, this Nitzachim of this Milchama that Shavik Firatzna Melech is again the Etzem of Elikus. So for this Inyan, Git Man Avek Ala Eitzers, the Hechsta Eitzers, the Eitzers Achik Musa, Achik Musa, Git Avek Alts, the deepest non in Elikus. And who is it given away to anyone? Any Yid that's doing the Aved gets it, and it could be used for any purpose, for the most simple purpose that exists. It's Bizbuz Eitzers. Yeah, it's nicht kein Pashti. It's nicht kein Pashti Zach, but let's learn this matter. So he says, Kadesha Dea, Ezer, the Bizbus, Ezer, Sinatsa, Samalchama, Vishna, Ratzna, in order for the to be in Tzachna Malchama, that what the Melech wants, even though he doesn't, his Ratzna is not necessarily a Pitamadas, it's a Malam Pitamadas, but that his Ratzna should be in a Smale, he'll give away anything for it, because this Ratzna is connected to his Etzem. So that's what's Mavor in Sifir Aleph. So from now on in the Hemshech, it's not only a couple of prakim, but the Kemat till the end of the Hemshech, Bosi Legani, it speaks about the keiches, what's this darg of Eitzer L'mayla, and what does it mean, Bizbuz Eitzris? That's what he speaks about in the whole second part of the Hemshech. The first part of the Hemshech is 20 prakim. The first 10 prakim is mainly the Tachlis HaKavana, the Aveda that's Negea. From the second part of the Hemshech, from Perikir Aleph, is more, Be'ikr speaking about the keiches that the Eibusher gives a Yid, in order to be mamad this aved last with the mashal of the eitzer yakar that the melech only gives for the sake of nitzach namulcham. So that's calls like the hemshech ben kanal labash but the vayz keresh so bol the vayz keresh nesn lo may. That's the pashta zach the whole hemshech. Figure speaks about the common became is this Indian that in order this marshal that in order for the be Menatzeach Muhammad, so the Melech gives Eitzris Achi Karim that he has, the Melech gives to the Am. Friedrich speaks about it in a couple of places, not just in this Maimer, but there's a Maimer, a Hemshech of Pesach, I think Tavshin Tes, one of them Sheikh of Pesach, Friedrich speaks about it. But you have here in the Hemshech of Tavshin Yud, the whole 10 Prakim, that the Friedrich Rebbe is Meirich when they get to this Indian. The Keiches was me get Mail in order to be Mail the Aved of Lashes is what it did of Taftain. Oh, Mufayr, so the Epton sagt das. Mufayr bechlolish Eitzris. Generally says they're Eitzris Stumin. They're behalten Eitzris, which a halten Eitzris means that they're such precious things that they're untouchable things, and you don't even show them to anyone. Even to his best friends, he doesn't show them. They're untouchable. They're in a safe merir zenishtam. But the kavana is dafke liftech esim to open them up. V'acharkach losses esim ala mekablim. Then the Rebbe adds, and it is written in the Maimer there, but v'nesina tiyeh ba'efen deitzarcha tev lonu tiftach. It should be an efen that the Eibusher, the kavana is to give these eiches to every yid. And then an efen that it should be good, it should be useful on the yid's terms. That's the lashon deitzarcha tev lonu tiftach. What does it mean atzar? So the lashon is hatev lanu. You have yitzar. The Eibusher is good atzar. He should give it to us. Then there's another taish. The yitzarcha hatev lanu tiftach. That it should be good on our terms. That according to our hasagas, it should be useful. That's it. The Rebbe says over here, the kavana is that it should bizbuz ha'eches is that that these ha'eches achit chsumim, even though mitzad atzim l'chora they're in yanam achit pnimim v'lakos, the deepest and highest in yanam v'lakos, the be'ena rechta nivra. The kavana is not just the nivra should use them, but they should be good and useful on his terms. Tzarcha tev lanu tiftach. Hana shemekabel yargish is our tev shalei. If it's Eish Stum Shalmayla Vinyanam Shabe'en Arich Klal, how could these ages be an Indian that a person should be able to appreciate on his terms? Well, that's the Kavanah. I didn't see in the Maimer of Friedrich Rebbe. I don't know if this is in the Maimer of Tavshin Yud. Someone went through the Maimer of Tavshin Yud. The end steht as a word that the Kavanah is not only that it should be given, but it should be that it should be Sarcha Tev Lonu Tiftach. No, you have the whole Hemshech there. Okay. It's if you're off, it's with Beshtet. Let me just see for a second. Let me just see for a minute. Just want to see if. My Mari Pesach Tavshin Tes, yeah. My Mari Pesach and Tzidkas Prezeni Tavish Pites. That's speaks about this in the Eitzos Yikar. Last year, the main the Rebbe was basing it a lot on Tzidkas Prezeni Tavish Pites, but it's a Maimer. This V'Nacha Tavshin Tes. It's a table Lona Tiftach. Just see if it's in this.
Is that the Maimer Tzidkas Prezeni and look at the Alta based on?
Huh?
No.
Tzidkas Prezeni. Yeah. Especially the Nacha. Yeah, the Nachas. Speaks a lot of times. Let me just see. I don't see that it brings over here this word. The Rebbe says at the end that it should be Teiv Lon. That the Eitzah should be, the Kavanah should be given in a way that it should be Teiv on the terms of the. That's the whole word. It's just a push the word. That even though it's Eishes Knusim Amada, it's a Divis Nanam Amayla, but it should be given in a Eifin that should be mastim to the Mekabel. The Mekabel should appreciate them according to his terms. He should be a Kedi to it. Should be mastim to his mitzvahs. Yeah, that's that. Okay, good. Okay. But here the Rebbe starts this Mamshech Levayr La'achre that he said in general. That for the sake, we're dealing with a Melchama which is for the sake of Nitzach. It's not a Melchama based on Cheshbon and Tam V'das. But it's a Melchama based on that it's neget to the Melech that his Ratzon should be Zol. Is Gefirt Vern, it should be Gefirt Zainei. And therefore, for this Melchama Gitter Avek, on Cheshbon is, Mamshech Levayr B'Sifit Beis HaShach L'Shnasei Lula. Hayud Beis, so Prati Advarim in Eitz Ulamad. And this part of the Hemshech Hebt Ram Mevar Zayin, the Prati Advarim, what is this, what's the Pchin of Eitzer L'Mayl? Achre, Agdom HaKlol, it's the Keichav Shneis L'Mayl. Dr. Razai. So the fig, what's the lashon that starts on Perek Beis? V'hini lohavin inni na'itzu l'mayla. This is hipped on the feed to get up, yeah? V'hini lohavin inni na'itzu l'mayla. So in Pashtus, I mean, I'm not saying it's a big chiddush that I'm saying. I'm saying about Pashtus advarim. What's the pchin of Eitzer? What's the pchin of Eitzer l'mayla? It's not a psashayla. What's this? The emes is that this musay there's a madrega called Eitzer l'mayla. That's not a chiddush of this matter. That you have in other places. There's a madrega called Eitzer l'mayla. And there's many pchinas. The musik of Eitzer, the way it speaks in the Neget to the Maila, is Amolet, is Neget, Sfira Sabina, is different Alor Madregas. Here the Fikra speaks Eitzer in a very high Madrega. So Fikra started, what's this pchin of Eitzer? What is the inyan of Eitzer Maila? But the Rebbe says here that there's a kasha over here. It says like this. Means the Rebbe is bringing this not lahavir, but episode shverikait wegen that. There's a shverikait with this. If you were saying the regular musik of Eitzah says in other places in Kabbalah there's a sphere, is a pchinan sphere, is Einzah. Here the Refidgar brings his maktim. What's the pshat Eitzah l'mayla? Al derech like you have the Eitzah l'mata. But again to the melech that they have a zelcha Eitzahs which are such precious things that the melech they're untouchable things that the king has, and the Refidgar says that even things that even the melech's basic needs, this Eitzah is untouched. You don't touch this Eitzah. So the shaila is viken zan azab pchinan l'mayla. That's what we're saying. It's a kasha. It says like this. But in the l'chura in the move and ich shaykh in the Eitzah l'mayla. Dugma sa Eitzah. Shamelech in the Eitzah l'paschal l'sham she'avur tzrachav kim shechasalo. Jalavitim. The yesek sin. This we're dealing with as in the mashal. We're dealing with azam esert zach, which the melech doesn't want to open it, doesn't want to use it for his own personal needs. Why? Because it's these are very precious things. He doesn't want to waste it. Chas v'sham. The yesek kelo gam kol ma shenesem nixim deira shelifnis. It's the tires the zachem of the melechot. This is tire from out. This is in the mashal. So now we want to say that there was the pshat in the Eitzah, which is given to the Anshe Chayil in the Nimshal, also as I'm certain in the Lamayla. So in the movement, Ich Shaykh Lemer Lamayla, Shesh Ne'inin Shu B'china Tzarchem El. There's a musik which is called Tzarchem El. Dugas Lamata. Yeah, things that are the king's needs. After the Kemishvil, Inyan Zeh Le'negim Ba'Eitzah. What's the mashal Lamata? The mashal is, what's the chshivas of Eitzah? That these are such precious things that's more precious to the king than his own needs. And for his own needs, he'll never use these things. So there's what's the madrega of Eitzah l'mayla. They have certain madregas in Yanim Elokos which are kaviyachol more tired to the Eibishter than his own needs, kaviyachol, than his own tzrach. So what does it mean? What's the pchin of tzarchei l'mayla? And what does it mean that even though it's the Eibishter's seirech, it's tzarchei melech, it's kaviyachol the Eibishter's need, but there's certain in Yanim that's beyond tzarchei melech. What can be beyond tzarchei melech? What's making this? Ich sage mal, dass ich in Shulchan tzarchei melech. Va'avle kem shel in zeh le'negam b'eitzim nishu stumim v'chsum. Elim kekshesh in shemolchamet. So cliff and the tzach these grass in melech, which this we're really dealing with Adam certain tzach, which is connected to the etzem melech, is a whole different inyan. So chura ich shaykh l'mayla. She inyan naili yesim tzarchei melech. What's meant this? Yeah, it's can say that we're dealing with in the mashal l'mato eitzah she'otzra v'esav. So it could be that the eitzahs are more precious than this specific need of this king. It could be this king, even though it's a basic need of the king, but the eitzahs are more precious than the king. The Melucha needs to have these eitzahs, even if this king can't function. But the eitzahs, some Melucha are more negay than this king. How do you have the Nimshal as I'm certain? You have Tzarchim of the Eibishter Kaviyachol, and the eitzahs of the Eibishter are more precious than this. What's mean this? So what does it mean? And Dafka, when it comes to being leichem, to be victorious over a menagid, that his zatan should be nishlam. So even these ages is peschem as ages of stumah shalom. What's mean this? That's the shay. Yeah, the frigga doesn't touch this. It's a shay. It sounds like what's the pchina? What's the madrega? The eitzer has to be relating to a certain madrega. Which madrega we're dealing with? The Rebbe is saying it's not which madrega we're dealing with. There's a shverikait over here. How could you attribute this musik of Eitzah, the way he was explaining till now, that it's the marshal of the melech, with the Eitzahs HaKmusim, how could you attribute this in the Lamayla? How could there be in the Lamayla, which is Kaviyah? What does it mean, Tzarchei HaMelech Lamayla? How could there be any which is Lamayla mit Tzarchei HaMelech? It means, Sazam is in Nifla. And that for Tzarech, Nitzach HaMelchama, you give it away. That's the shit. So, then Hifter HaMevar, Azem Mevar. Shkatei lo in Nisr Lamayla is remember that Tikkun Ezayar in Sav Lamayla the Kes Lamata in Tachlis. And the Fidik gives a whole lot dumb. The MS says that the Eitzah is the Madrega of Lamayla in Kes. But in order to explain what the Lamayla in Kes is, that flaw, the Ilu, the Lamayla in Kes is Makdim. What's the Pshat the Mata in Tachlis? That's what he starts off here. The Elam Halk rank in the Minyan or
Sure.
Yeah? Good. This has a minim is it? We don't have some above here. The Elohim here learn some above or
Yeah.
Huh? Not everybody. Some Bachram yes, some Bachram not. So Faram Tibas learn. Yeah. Where are you holding? Those that are learning it.
I never noticed there's a huge crowd.
Where are you holding?
I think a lot of I don't know, Some of the Bachram did Vayolich and this. A lot of you went to a Chodesh.
You did. So no one here has to learn those Amarim.
Saying we did it.
What did you do? Which one?
Saying the summer went through them.
What? Vayolich till where?
From a Chodesh.
Okay, good. So we'll see. So this so steht was der Loschen steht mit können sehr in Sof von Mala den Kets und Mata den Dachs. So steht. So start sich first on the term in Sof. Weil nie bize. The hini bin in Sof je schnell perush. How do you attach the term in Sof? One touch is shel in Sof. That it's a light on the in Sof. So the word in Sof, the term in Sof goes on Atzmos. Ein Sof is the air of the Ein Sof. Ein Sof is going on Atzmos, and the air is the air, his revelation, his gili. But not that the air itself is Ein Sof. That's one pshat. The zweite pshat ifaran, sha'er atzmi hu Ein Sof. That the air itself, the gili, which is nimshach from the etzim, the gili is Ein Sof. Say pirush. Fire bam maim, dos shbinin amuduber kan, hakavana hi sha'er atzmi hu b'chinas Ein Sof. Speak when you get to this, tikkun this chazal. The Ein Sof l'mala in kesamata in tachlis. Here, avad the Ein Sof, we go, it's the second shot of Ein Sof. That Ein Sof means that the guf is Ein Sof. How do you know that in this chazal, in this lush, in this tikkun ezayar, the guf is Ein Sof? This the Rebbe says. If he doesn't touch this, but the Rebbe says here that fire by marriage, in amuduber kan, in their mind, their lush, in tikkun ezayar, the kavanah is that the alein is Ein Sof. Even though theoretically speaking, there could be different touch in the Ein Sof. There's the touch of air that the Ein Sof is going on the etzim, and the air is the gili of Ein Sof. And you have a touch of the air guf is Ein Sof. In this Maimer Chazal, in this Chazal of air itself, in this Tikkun Ezer, the Ein Sof is attributed to the air, that the air guf is Ein Sof. Vu zet when the B'inin Amuduber Kan, the pshat is the air guf is Ein Sof.
Why is that a chiddush? He says the word. The Tikkun Ezer itself says. The those words mean Ein Sof, no?
That's what the Rebbe is saying here. Look, that's the.
Is there any other
way? Is in the middle. The Rebbe says here. Look at the end. He says, look at the end of this paragraph. Since what does it say? It says Ein Sof. So the Tikkun is speaking about the air for sure. When it says that there's a Ma'alad in Kes and Ma'alad in Tavos, who are we dealing with? That the air is a Ma'alad in Kes. So if the term, let's say the term itself is going on the etzim, but when it's being metayr, there is a ma'ala and kesamata din tachlis. We didn't get the eir is the ma'ala and kesamata din tachlis, and the ma'ala and kesamata din tachlis means tachlis Ein Sof is ein bag balas. So in this term avada the eir is Ein Sof. That's what they were saying over here. It's not so posh. Kiven she'em she'er zol the ma'ala kesamata din tachlis hainu she'em bag balas. The ma'ala and kes means that the eir has no limits. How do you move on she'er atzmi b'chinas Ein Sof? It's interesting to say. I'm not the bucking of Chassidus really, but there's this idea that the pshat Ein Sof is that the air is Ein Sof. The air Ein Sof means that the air itself is Ein Sof, and not air shell Ein Sof. So you have many rayas. Chassidus speaks kam rayas. The Maimer Vayelech, there's a beikar in the Maimer was just chukas in some of them. So he brings kam rayas that when Kabbalah it says lashon Ein Sof, it's not speaking about the etz, it's speaking about the air. That the air itself is Ein Sof. But this word that in this tikkun Ezer, for sure Ein Sof is going on there. I didn't see such a state as a raya ergets. One of the ichach is that the musig of Ein Sof is related to the air. So this tikkun Ezer, because tikkun Ezer says that the air of Ein Sof is the ma'ala kesamata din tachlis. The ma'ala kesamata din tachlis means that it's anagbalis, it's blikvul. If it's lamaila ad inketz, and it's lamata ad din tachlis, it means that this air has no limitations. It's everywhere. So if it's Ein Sof, so the tikkun Ezer is not the air guf is Ein Sof.
Is there any other way of looking at it? Is there any other way of looking at it?
I didn't, unless I'm saying they don't bring a market either over here, but I don't think this raya is written.
It's a novel idea to take these.
I'm saying is the state. It could be that it happens to be that this taisha, Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis, there's the Peil and the Maimer Vayel, there's a Shverikait on this Lashon of Tikkun Ezer. What does it mean, the Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis? The maskana of Chassidus is that the Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis is in Beshum Agbaz, like the Rebbe says over here. It's in the Tachlis Ablikvul. And that doesn't mean after that it's a very high degree of Blikvul, which is expressed in this term, Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis. Without the Bir of Chassidus, the Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis doesn't necessarily mean such a high Inyan. Could be. Ma'ala Kesmata Din Tachlis could be maybe even a lower Inyan. Because the B'shalan in Samavov asks the question at the beginning, the Lashon is the Eretz of the Ma'ala Adin Kes, the Ma'ala Adin Tachlis. So the Rebbe Rashav, the Rebbe Tachas says in the Maimer, V'nocha, that initially, when you look at this Maimer Chazal, the Mashma says, you see when you get that person has on one hand very, very high keiches, very edel keiches. He has seichel, and he has a person could have and he can be a very, very ruchni dik if he wants, but a person also has the keich to be yered very, very low. So Malak is it wasn't Pashta Lashon. Erin Sof is very, very high on one hand. He is very, very high. Means he's very, very edel, very mufshit, and he's also very, very low. Like a person has a keich of seichel and a keich of edel. He also has keiches pchusim, nidrike keiches. Then it's not an in of blikvol, that's in of tzir. When you say a person has many different keiches, that's ein sof, that's pshitis. That's within the world of milas and shleimus and of gvul. He has many different variety of milas. He has milas, ruchnis milas. Yes, ein sof, the is l'mayla. He's very, very high, very exalted. Zeir heich on one hand, and he's also very low.
How do you understand the lashon in Kate?
You have a kasha in the lashon. But I'm saying that the Rebbe Hashem had such an option, and I've that if the since it says ein sof, so I'll go at the beginning of Vayelech. I'll just read from this. He said like this: Hine dom ad isa bezayre betikunim. Erin sefel malad. This is the Maimer of Vayelech towards the beginning. Isa bezayre betikunim. Erin sefel malad kesam ata den takos. Chur in move on. Eich shayich mailo mata be'erin sof. So how did he learn at the beginning? The Rebbe attaches this. The beginning of the order here also. That what's the pshat? How do you attach the pashas mailo mata? That erin sof is sai very high. He's sai l'mayla, sai very, very high, very ruchni, and sai very low. We can't touch it. That the that we were able to explain that he's same a person has keiches. Every other nivra is only has one type. A person has sai keiches ruchni, you have keiches seichel, you have very high keiches on one hand, you have very low keiches on the other hand. But can't that itself is the ma'ala because the ma'ala the tachlis. But the shaila why the shveik adem ibazay then it's not ein sof, and the lashon is ein sof. You understand? So lepel. There's another touch, but upon the etzem word you could have touched it that it means not in of hedrak balas kol. But here the Rebbe is according to the Maskana Chassidus that the Malak is mad and tachlis means that he's blikvul betachlis. Like you're saying the Pashto Lashon, he's l'mayla ad ein ketz and l'mata ad ein tachlis. That means that he's anak balas kol. That's not muchrit this touch. That's what I'm trying to make. I'm trying to make out from the beginning of Vayelech that you could have touched the words l'mayla ad ein ketz that it doesn't mean ein bag balas kol. From the way he asked the question at the beginning of the Maimer Vayelech. So that's why this Maimer Chazal is not one of the rayas that the Ein Sof is Koyaler. But the Rebbe is touching here according to the Maskana, and that's the pack of the Pashas Mashmos Halashi. That Ein Sof that's the Pashas Halashi. L'mayla ad inketz. He's mispashet to madreges to Mayla on akbolas. Not that he is pale in himself. Mailas neflois ad inketz. That he's mispashet l'mayla ad inketz. And the air is nimsa mata adin tachlis. That's the stages. And that means that the air is blikvul betachlis. So you could touch Malakes means that he includes within himself very high keiches and very low keiches. We're shelo that pshat. The pshat is that air itself gefinzach in the highest realms, the ma'ala adin ketz, and he also gefinzach lamata he's mispashet everywhere. And on Ashir, style of Ma'ala Ashir Mata Ashir. Ebazeh there is so Malakes and Mata means that is onak balas klal, b'lishum akbalas. So once you say that that's for sure that Tikkun Ezer is saying the is mispashet blikvul. So according to this Chazal, the word in Sof is kaya not shel in Sof. That the guf is in Sof. The pearl, this raya is not shtetish. The whole Shaklatari can bring rayas that the idea of in Sof is kaya That's a chiddush al Tereb. The fact that the term in Sof is kaya that's not a psazach which that's Psahochadish al Rebbe that the Eir itself is Ein Sof. But the Rebbe brings one of the rayas that in this Chazal, this Tikkun Ezer, Avada the term itself is Goya Loyer. You heard us of us chred. Now, what the Rebbe brings here about Tam Adabar, here the Rebbe is saying not Hamadubar Khan. The Rebbe is saying in general that Chassidus is Machriya that the term itself is going on here. But the Rebbe starts off over here. I just want to say push the pshat over here. So Var B'Mayim Shvinin Hamadubar Khan. Speaking when you get to this Lashon Chazal of Tikkun Ezer, here the Kavan is that the Eir alone is Ein Sof. What's the right that we never do Kan the Eir is Ein Sof? That's not from the Hemshach the Rebbe says. That's from what we see at the end of the paragraph. Kiman Shem Sher Zlamal and the Ketz. The Charad the Eir Guf is Ein Sof. What Vatam is to explain in general why the term Ein Sof is Kayal. That's the Vatam. Yeah. So what's the general tam? Tamadog. It says like this. Yeah. So this Bechlal steht da so. Tamadog ki ba mitase inyan haloshen in sof koi rakel in the truth is, here they're quoting the lashon tikkunei zayar erin sof. So we're saying that erin sof is going on that erin itself is in sof. We'll see later why the Rebbe is adding this. But here there is adding another point, that the truth is that when it says the term Ein Sof, anywhere where it says the Torah Ein Sof in Sifrei Kabbalah, and it's Chaim, always use Lashon Ein Sof. So does Ein Sof mean the Eir or means the Etzem? Till now we're speaking about when it says Eir Ein Sof. Is the Ein Sof attributed to the Eir or the Eir is Eir Shel Ein Sof? So we're saying the Kabbalah, the Pshat is Eir Ein Sof, like it says at the end. But the Rebbe has another thing. Bechlal, when it says the Lashon Ein Sof in Sifrei Kabbalah, what's the main thing? We're speaking when we get to Atzos, we're speaking when we get to there. Now when it says Lashon Eir Ein Sof, when it says Lashon Ein Sof, what are we dealing with? The Etzem or the Eir? So Adam sagt da, that it's Mavur and Chassidus, the Bamitase Inyan, Halashon Ein Sof, Koi Rakal Inyan Eir. And Meret Ein Sof meint ben Eir, nicht Etzem. And that, he brings 3 rayas for this. Kamer rayas. It's Leicha than the whole Arichas, but the only raya, it's interesting, the only raya that's left is the raya that Rebbe brings here. So Mavav wants to say that maybe the musik of the Ein Sof is not Shayach on Atzmos. The reason why when it says Lashon Ein Sof, yes, 3 Efanim, why he wants to say that Lashon Ein Sof, when it's used the Lashon Kabbalah Ein Sof, it doesn't mean the Gili. It doesn't mean the Eir, it means the Etzem. It doesn't mean the Etzem, it means the Gili. He wants to say that the Lashon Ein Sof is not Shayach on Etzem. They're different, but he's Teicha all of them. Huh? It's coming from huh?
Shlila, instead of saying it can't be that it's not that.
There, it's above. But he's Teicha those rayas. But what's left is that the reason to say that anytime the Lashon Ein Sof is used in Kabbalah, is because if we're speaking about the Etzem, we should have said a higher term. We should have said in the Tchila. And that's the Rebbe brings over here. That's there's 2 separate things. We're speaking about when it says the term Eir Ein Sof. Does it mean Eir Shel Ein Sof or it means Eir Ein Sof? That's the Ein Zach. That's one term. Then there's another thing. When it says Lashon Ein Sof in Kabbalah, is it going on the Etzem or is it going on Eir? Or is it going on Gilui? So the Maskana Chassidus is when it says the term Ein Sof in Kabbalah, redet wegen Eir Ein Sof, redet wegen Ein Sof, redet wegen the Metzem, redet wegen Atzmos. What's the raya for it? The raya is the term itself. The term Eir B'chal is the Alter Rebbe's uftu. This whole term of Eir, it's that there's a musik of Eir. The Alter Rebbe's a chiddush. This whole idea. It's not like you have but what the Chassidus is Smaydach bringing Chachas. When the Arizal uses the Lashon Ein Sof, he means the Eir, not the Etzem. So what's the raya that's left? The raya. Maybe we'll go soon. I don't know who's learning Samavav, but if you learn Samavav, it's interesting to go through the. Well, you could see what it says over here. So it means Halashon Ein Sof Keirakal in the Eir. The Ein Sof is always Eir. One of the rayas actually there is being this raya here, but I think this raya is Takal Maskana that the Arizal uses the Lashon when he says that there was a tzimtzum. So first he says Haya Ein Sof Malam Makmachal, yeah. But then it says Tzimtzum Ein Sof. But it could have said use the lashon that Ein Sof, that the Ein Sof was mitzamtzim. And Alter Rebbe brings the Chmein, the Chassidus brings the Chagansa Arichas that the Tzimtzum was an Eir, not an Etzem. Even the Tzimtzum Lafkib Shetei. Tzimtzum wasn't a Siddiq, it was a Helam only. But even that Helam was only an Eir, not an Atzmos. Atzmos is Adra Amar Bezgalus. And the Arizal used the term Ein Sof. So that's a right that when the Arizal used the term Ein Sof, it means Eir, not Etzem. It's one of the rayas. It doesn't mean this raya here, but that's one of the rayas that's brought. The end to use the term Ein Sof, that's wegen Eir, nicht wegen Etzem.
The part that Tzimtzum's not really is Helen, that's Siluk, Martin Galiyah. Is that a different part?
No. Tzimtzum Pshutte, the general idea of Tzimtzum Pshutte, that's wasn't the parsha. You're going into totally the separate topic. But let's focus on this mind. Yeah, let's focus on this topic. Just we'll have it more. Oh, so he says like this. Oh, so what's the right? When you use the term Ein Sof, even if you do, we'll see why the Rebbe has to add this. I mean, if you just want to bring it that the Eir itself is Ein Sof, the Rebbe has a but in a duber kan, the Rebbe get it free. In a duber kan, when we say Ein Sof, we're dealing with the Eir. What do you have to add? In general, that any time the term Ein Sof is used in Kabbalah, it's going on the Eir. We'll have to see later why that's negeh to add this point. But the Rebbe means like this. Even if you want to say that Ein Sof is going on higher levels, it means that Ein Sof means there's a certain idea of Ein Sof which you cannot attribute to Eir. It's dafke in shame, but Sof Kol Sof it's also the same musik of Eir. It's not the Etzem. Shame means there's a certain deeper musik of Ein Sof, which this deeper musik of Ein Sof you cannot attribute to the musik of Eir. You can attribute it to Shem, but still the Shem, it's not the Etz. That's what those women that is bringing. Now, but Derek Klal, Shem and is the same union. Yeah, this is, we'll see that later in the Hemshech maybe.
Is there any...
Shem and None of differences. In general, I'm saying when you, they're quoted different. I'm not the all the pratim here, but if globally, a certain level of we use the word Shem. Shema, I mean, one of the Chreichem, there's a musik of that is itself, so the Lashon Chazal, that Ashel Nibra Eilam Hu Shmei Belvat, so before the Yibshur did anything, before anything was created, there was him and there was his name. So the Alter attached that Shmai, that's meant, this is Shmai Hainu So in general, the musik of Shem and is the same meaning. If you go into Pratis, so sometimes the musik of Shem is Meram is a very high darga in darga B'chelis, very high darga in Then there's the darga which is lower than B'chelis, and that's not Nichlan, the musik of Shem. But the Shem we're meaning here is also a darga in but it's a darga B'chelis. If you learn the Maimer in Kimcha, so but it's gelernt, so that's just together. I don't have it clear who's learning Samavav and who's not. I didn't get a clear cut. No one here is learning Samavav? Which Maimer are you learning? Which Maimer are you learning?
We just finished Vayilach, but I'm not sure.
So good. So you'll see, and Kiimche says there clear that...
there's only like 2 verses, I think.
So Kiimche says there that we speak, there's a Hu Shmei Bavad, Shem is and in Shem is and that means, but Shem, when you use the term Shem, we want to bring out the the way it's in a very high level, Darga Yechelis. Then the term is in a lower Darga. Not the way it's in the level of Yechelis, but it's in the Eifin of his parts. That's that's nicht negeda. It's the
Losser Bosi Legani Yudalef, that would be Etzema as opposed to special or Shafa Atma, that would already be.
No, because Etzema is lower than the Darga Yechelis.
So Yechelis is before Etzema.
Yechelis before Etzema. Yeah. There's a Darga that's Hu, Shmei, Hu. It's one thing. The Hu and the Shmei is one in. There steht in it's gehört von yes, such a it says not only this is one Eifin of Hu Shmei Belvad, that the Shmei is an Eifin that it's not a different nifrat from the Hu. It's one thing. Then there's another type Hu Shmei Echad, that Hu is Shmei and Shmei is Hu. It's one thing. That's the Darga B'chelis. So that's called Shem.
And that's already considered an idea of Or.
That's the Sheirish Erbe Makar Achir Rishon is Darga B'chelis, which is one with Atzmos. That's Kadm Kikadmuseh. That's Kolo Ba'atzmos HaMar Mamish.
It's not really...
Well, but that's all Maimer that you learn a separate image of Atzmos. It's a whole Maimer for itself. It's Kibla Ba'ala Aveda Isha Piyish. Let's see the Lashon of there's a Maimer Ki Imcha and Samavav. So there he goes through this Shem Ve'er, he goes through this in. But just to hear, it's good for you to know these words. So he says... You said you learned it, yeah? Yeah, Shmei. The Ma'asim with Shmei. Shmei is the way it's called Ba'atzmas HaMar Mamish. That's what he says here. Omru Yesa Yuven Zeh B'Yesa Kolo B'Mar. Shebchinas Eskalo Zu Nikri Yechelis Shel HaMar L'Harim Enoir. Ken Inin Hu Shmei Hu K'mei Hu Levad. Hu Shmei is like Hu Levad. Ein kan Shum Davar Zulas HaMar. Mashe B'Cholti L'Har. Zeh Shnikar Shmei. V'lei Mamish. That's Shmei V'lei Mamish. K'meishu B'Gilui. That's what I was saying before. K'meishu B'Gilui Hari Nikra and that's the lashon of Eitzchaim b'chosi frakabala erin sof. Nikar gamkin shmei means what usually the term they could always use shame. You could also use shame. The chlolas erin sof is shmei is the same meaning. But ikar b'china shmei, we go into the pratim. What's shmei and what's ikar b'china shmei is shechol b'moyer. Mashiach is when it's begilui. But they from chol Hashem is the same meaning. That's what they were saying over here. They were saying over here, Ein Sof is going on there. Even if there's a deeper musik of Ein Sof, just dafke shaykh by shame. They were saying shame the way shame is. That's the way it's called Ba'atzmas HaMar. But they even call him Gate Shana. Them Shmei ve'er is in. And and Shem is one in and that in Sof. But it's not going into the Pratim. It says, L'mayla yes initial Shem. That means if you're going to Pratim, this Darga with the other way it's called Ba'atzmas HaMar, that's where it's a mitzvah saying Sof. The other way it's called Ba'atzmas HaMar. Okay. Yeah, we're not learning that. This Lashon, become a Pratim Shem ve'er in Yonam Echad, that's a Lashon in Nkudat Torah. That's the Alter Rebbe's Lashon. Okay. So what's Haltman? How that the Lashon in Sof is going. I mean, Zak the term in Sof. We don't speak about Ab. We're not speaking about Atzma. We're speaking about Er. What's the Rai? Move a look at the Torah. Pashas Pekudei. Hikshar Amen. Back down and B'Sefer Yenis Eilu and B'Sefer Pelecharim and Zak the Dort Nazei. If you're going to say that Ein Sof, the word Ein Sof, we're speaking about Atzmos, Lama Nikra Ein Sof. Why is Atzmos called Ein Sof? L'chura Yirei the Grace Ein L'Tchila. Why should you call it Ein? Because the Pashtus of the I'm saying the Pashtus. Because Ein L'Tchila is a higher mile than Ein Sof. Well, maybe touch this up a little bit better later. We're just saying the Pashtus of the So if we want to use a term to bring out Atzmos, we should have used a much better term, a higher mile, which is Ein L'Tchila, not Ein Sof. Where do you see that Ein L'Tchila is a higher mile than Ein L'Sof? See, Taj is very pashut. The Hainu Shu Kadmin. Ein L'Tchila means that he doesn't have a beginning. He's Kadmin. It means he always was. He has no beginning. So he's a Kadmin. Kadmin is something that doesn't have a beginning. He's a Vada Nitzchi. In a Muslim of Zman, Azach which never began has no end. Something which began can have an end. But something which never began is Nitzchi. So if you say Ein Sof, Bashenk in the Muslim of Ein Sof, which Ein Sof literally means he has no end, he's Nitzchi. He's saying Muslim of Zman. But so something that has no end doesn't necessarily is not a raya that it's a kadmin that it always was, that it doesn't have a beginning. You could have different Ivraim. You have Malachim, you have the Darga Malachim, or you have even Ivraim the Matan Elam Hazeh. It's Vashamayim, the sun and the moon. So they have Kayach Blikvol. They have Nitzchis. There's no end to the Kayach that they have. Person has a limit to how much he can exist. Person has a limited energy in himself. That's why a person always gets weaker and he gets tired. Mashiach, so the Shemesh, the Mashal, has unlimited energy, blikful. And it could be, it could be Kaim La'ilam Va. The Shemesh is as strong as it was when it was first created. It's the same strength and energy it has now also. No change at all. Didn't use up any energy. It means that it has unlimited, blikful Kayach. It's Nitzchi. It's Ein Sof. So we see that the fact that something's nitzchi doesn't mean that it doesn't have a beginning. The Shemesh, of course, is created, but again, it's nitzchi. So you see that the Tayar Ein L'Tchila is a much of a higher inyan. Ein Sof could be that he has no limits, even though. So Ein Sof could be a lower level. It's not such a great mile. Avad is a big mile. To have Ein Sof Kayach is a very big mile. People are limited, and the sun has unlimited amount of energy. He's blikvol. He's nitzchi. Mitzad Atzmai, he could last unakbalas from years. No limits. He could last forever and ever. It's a mere dekamayla, legabi nevram bolim. But Ein L'Tchila is even a higher mile, because Ein Sof you could have even though you had a beginning. Mashiach and Ein L'Tchila that's only which has no beginning. So Ein L'Tchila is higher than Ein Sof. That's the pashtus. So if we were speaking when we get to the etzem, we should have used a higher praise, not a lower praise. As I state in the Rabbi. Emes is that if you so therefore this is machriach. Just look at that for a second. V'tireitz the masha on ukerden Ein Sof ein etzad aleinu tam most of us is al chas Sholmo. Rak b'chinas shmei is barich. Shu b'chinas v'ziv she'ein l'sev. That's the Rabbi says because the Rabbi says there that we never speak that atzmos is lei dumya sihila. We don't say any terms when we get there. So what are we dealing with? This is the lashon. This is interesting lashon. Says. And so there, time who's about it. Just I just want to add one thing. Also gives a certain touch in the Indian. It's not just. It's not just asking the shallow here that I'm in. It's not just that why if Ein Sof is going on the etzem. So why would they call the Eibishter Ein Sof? There's a higher mile. Ein L'Tchila is even a higher mile. Yeah. So that's the question. So that's not such a strong question. I mean, someone has many miles, but you have to dafke call when you using an you have to dafke call him the highest mile that he has. The Eibishter is Ein Sof. It's true that the Eibishter is Ein Sof. So we call him the Ein Sof. I'm saying, what's the shverikite with this?
But it ends up being a technicality from the realm of, if you look from the perspective of Ein L'Tchila, and you could create things there, Ein Sof. Being Ein Sof is a technicality.
So you're saying right, but I just want to add another point to this. The truth is that Chassidus explains that the truth is that only Atzmos is Ein Sof. Nothing else can be Ein Sof. The truth is that Nevraim are Ein Sof. They're not really Ein Sof. They're technically Ein Sof. It means Ein Sof means something that has no end. It cannot stop. It can't be Nizbatel. The only thing that can't be Nizbatel is something which didn't have to be created. Something which didn't have to be brought into being. Anything that was created the same way it was made, it could be Nizbatel. It does anything. In other words, anything which once didn't exist was brought into being. That means that be'etzem, without anything happening, it doesn't exist. The shemesh mitzad atzmi doesn't exist. The Eibishter wanted, he created it, so it has to always be. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. The Eibishter decided that it should be nitzchi.
The beginning itself is a safe also.
Yeah, so the Eibishter decided that it should be nitzchi. So the shemesh is Ein Sof. It's unlimited. Unlimited means that this thing has no end. The sun has no end. The same it has a beginning, it means it doesn't have to be here. Why is it here? Today Eibishter wanted it to be here, so it's here. So it's not. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. So why does so tomorrow? So it can't be in his battle. Ein Sof is something that it exists. You cannot. It cannot be that it shouldn't exist. It's can't understand that it should be in his battle. That's Ein Sof. This thing is unlimited. It can't be in his battle. Something which could be in his battle, but technically he lasts forever. That's not. Then this thing is not Ein Sof. The Eibishter wants it. This not that this thing is Ein Sof.
In the world that Hashem created, and it was created. There's the fact that it was created. Then there's what was created. It was an identity was created that is Ein Sof.
Yeah, I'm not going into what's the nature of Ein Sof. I'm trying to explain. So that's we speak when you get to the Brem. So the truth is, I'm trying to make questions. The truth is, the only true Ein Sof is only Atzmos, is only the Eibishter himself. The only true Ein Sof is the Eibishter himself, because the Eibishter himself is a Kadman. He's a Mechuyev HaMetzias. He was never brought into being. So the fact that the Eibishter exists is because it has to be this way. It's Kenner Zayin Ambush. The Eibishter, that's the way things are. That's the way things are Be'etzim. It doesn't have to be made. That's the way the reality is Be'etzim. Something which has to be created means that Be'etzim, there's no need for him to exist. And Be'etzim, he doesn't exist. It means that without anything happening, he doesn't exist. Under circumstances, because of a certain reason, he was brought into being. So his Metzias is always dependent on the Sibba that brought him into being. The minute that Sibba is in his battle, he'll also be in his battle. So that Metzias is not Ein Sof. It's not a Metzias which doesn't have an end, which doesn't have a Gvul, which doesn't have a Sof. The only something which is Mechuyev, which Ein Leitchila, which doesn't have a beginning, that means that the fact that he exists is because there is no such a thing that he doesn't exist. That's the reality Be'etzim, as Zayder Zach Be'etzim. So that reality can't be in his battle. The same way the fact that he exists is a Davar HaMochrech. He's a Mechuyev HaMetzias. He must be. It can't be otherwise. So he cannot be that it shouldn't exist. He's Ein Sof. So only Atzmos is a Mechuyev HaMetzias. Everything else, nothing had to be. Only the Eibishter had to be. And whatever he wanted, he created. So nothing besides the truth is that Ein Sof, that the only one that's Ein Sof is Atzmos. So the question is, but still the Rambam is asking, even though that the truth is, even though the truth is that the true idea of Ein Sof could only be attributed to Atzmos, but still the Ein Sof couldn't be going on Atzmos, because if you speak about the Ein Leitchila is a higher mile. That's the brings over here. Ein Leitchila is a higher mile. That's the Rambam Galatians. The Rebbe said it. The Rebbe said that the reason why we can't say that Ein Sof is Koyel Atzmos because Ein Leitchila is a higher Torah. So what? It's a higher Torah. So Ein Leitchila is a higher Torah, but Ein Sof is also a nice shvach. We have to say all high Torah. But the emek of this question is like what you're saying, that when you say Ein Leitchila is a different term. When you say the term Ein Leitchila, the whole touch of Ein Sof is a different touch. The Eibishter is Ein Sof, the Ein Sof, the way it is in Atzmos, is a different touch of Ein Sof. When he's saying the Lashon Ein Sof in Kabbalah, we're giving the Eibishter a Torah. We metired him. We're giving him the Torah of Ein Sof. That's Ein Sof as a Torah. Atzmos is Ein Sof is not Ein Sof as a Torah. It's a different type of Ein Sof. It's Ein Sof as a result of Ein Leitchila. It's a different union. So the Shaila is, if you since there was the Lashon over here, the Rameh says, what's the right that Ein Sof is Koyel not Koyel Etzem? Because Allah Etz Shluchura Yiraya the Kresa Ein Leitchila. Why? Not just because it's a higher mile. Because that's the true definition. That's the true way we should relate to him. And the Ein Sof that Atzmos has is a result of Ein Leitchila. It's a different type of Ein Sof. He says there's two types of Ein Sof. There's Ein Sof which is a result of being a Kadman. It's one type of Ein Sof. Then there's the Ein Sof which even if you're not a Kadman, it can be Ein Sof. So when you say the term Ein Sof, it means you're giving the Eibishter the Torah of Ein Sof itself. You're the Tashi gets from Ein Leitchila. That type of Ein Sof is one type of Ein Sof. That Ein Sof is not the Ein Sof that Atzmos is. Atzmos is Ein Sof as a result of him being Ein Leitchila. It's a different type of Ein Sof. It's the Lashon over here. Kol Mishu Kadman Bechlal Kadman Ubavate Nitzchi. But Leikol Nitzchi is Kadman. Means it's not only that a Kadman has to be a Nitzchi, but a Nitzchi is not necessarily a Kadman. It's more than that. And a Nitzchi which comes as a result of being a Kadman is one type of Nitzchi. And then there is a Nitzchi which is not a Kadman, that's a different type of Nitzchi. So the term Ein Sof, which means that he has no end, the Torah of Ein Sof that's going on air is not going on Etzem. That's definitely some masbas. I just want to bring out this point. When you let's look at Lashon Rabbi. It says, Sichel and Ibdol. He needs to work on Israel. Hanish in them said, Afish and Lashon and Leyesh. Hanish is them Chila. This B'Tirit, the Mash on a Keren Ein Sof. In it's in a limb let tire Muhus Vatzmus is Al Chasashalom. We don't want to give him the what's his tire, what's his in Vazbash states Zamayla. That is Ein Sof. We don't want to say that when he gets Atzmus. Like the B'Chinas Shmei Yisbar. B'Chinas Erv Ziv Shein Nisir. Means even though so what's the why can't you be tired? Why can't you say that Ein Sof is Kayal Atzmus? Because Atzmus has a higher mile. We should have called him Ein Tchila. Why shouldn't we call him Ein Tchila? Why higher than the Ein Tchila? We decided to call him Ein Tchila. But the Teretz is, it's true that the Eibush has Ein Sof, but the Eibush has Ein Sof as a result of him being Ein Tchila. That the Ein Sof of someone which doesn't have a Tchila, the Ein Sof of someone does have a Tchila, is a different type of Ein Sof. And when you say the word Ein Sof itself, Retten is wegen Atzmus. Retten wegen a Teir from Ein Sof, which is dealing with her.
Why can't we mean the mitzvahs in Ein Sof?
Yeah, but they're saying we're giving because that's the mitzvahs in of Ein Sof. We're using Ein Sof as a title. In Vaz Bashtet Zamal there is Ein Sof. The Ein Sof of Atzmos is not a gather of Ein Sof, so it's a different Indian. I'm saying the Pasha said the Pasha the Shaila is that why should you call him Ein Tchil? Because it's a higher title. But it's not just a higher title. Is that it's a different Ein Sof. There's the Ein Sof as a result of being a Kadm. Bechlal Nitzchi, Bechlal Kadm Nitzchi. And then there's the Nitzchi which has nothing to do with Kadm. It's two different types of Nitzchi. So I'm saying in the Mashal, in the Duga that I was speaking over here, when he gets to the Nefraim, they're not really Ein Sof. They're technically gleeful. They're technically unlimited. They don't have the type. They're not really Ein Sof. Is the sun an unlimited being? Has no end? The sun mitzat its mitzias has a very same way began it could end. I'm saying, well, of course it has an end. Lepoil, it has energy that could exist forever. Lepoil mamish, they have such an energy, but that's not that the shemesh is azam zar, which has the tchuna, has the characteristic of Ein Sof. The shemesh is a mitzias which could be feidish be nifsa. So that's a very low. So that's not Ein Sof. The sun is not Ein Sof. But even if we're going to speak about something which is taka Ein Sof, something which is unlimited, that's the to get to Eir. The Eir is Ein Sof. But the Ein Sof of Eir and the Ein Sof of Atzmos is two different musagim of Ein Sof. The Ein Sof of Eir is that in Yani is that he's Ein Sof. He's taka Ein Sof. True, it's unlimited taka there. But in them b'shteit zayin ma'ila. Zayin ma'ila b'shteit in them that he's unlimited. B'shteit in Atzmos avadi is Ein Sof. But it's a result of the fact of Ein Leitchila. That's a different type of Ein Sof. Different musag of Ein Sof. There's different differences between we speak Ein Sof as someone was in Vaz b'shteit zayin inyan is that he's Ein Sof, or an Ein Sof which is a result of Ein Leitchila. It's different musagim in Ein Sof. And the truth is that the Ein Sof, which is a Torah of Ein Sof, which is not a result of Ein Leitchila, is a Agbada of the Ein Sof. There's a limit. It means in Yani is that he's Ein Sof, that he's gleeful. There's a certain limit to that Ein Sof. And then Bashtei Zamayla. Bashtei when speaking to get to Atzmos, since he's Ein Leitchila, means he's a Mechoyev HaMetzias, the true Mustig of Ein Leitchila, so he has no definition at all. It's a different type of Ein Sof also. It's a literal Ein Sof, that there's no definition clause, no Agdaras at all. It's not a Maila of Ein Sof. There's Ein Sof as a Maila, as a certain Inyan, of a certain quality of unlimitedness, a certain Ilui, certain Shleimus. And that's the Torah of Ein Sof. Ein Sof in Vaz Bashtet, the Maila of the earth has the quality of being Ein Sof. And then there's the fact that Atzmos is Ein Sof, also unlimited, but that's the true definition of unlimited. Unakbalis. It's not a Maila, it's higher Inyan. And that's that way in the Tchilah. So if you want to speak the idea of how, if you want to speak that aspect in Atzmos Kaviyachal, that is Ein Sof, you should use the term Ein Tchilah. And Ein Leitchila automatically schedule Ein Sof. And that's the true definition of Ein Sof that Atzmos says. That it's unlimited mamish. The Lashon Ein Sof itself is made on a mile of Ein Sof, where that's not a mitzvah Ein Sof. So that's not understanding. What's the Rebbe adding? The Rebbe is saying that what I prove in this sieve that the Eir itself is Ein Sof. We use the term Ein Sof. It doesn't mean that it's not an Eir Shel Ein Sof. The Eir itself is Ein Sof. So in this Maimar Chazal we have to say because his father is like so the Ein Sof is related to there, and then there says Bechlal. The reason Bechlal state Chassidus that any time we use the term Ein Sof, why? Because if you speak about Atzmos, you should use the higher term of Ein Leitchila and not Ein Sof. Yeah, we'll see why the second prat is negeh over here. We'll see why the second prat is negeh. Let's just see the end of it. Kiven she'er m'she'er zeh l'mada mada l'kes l'mata mada l'tachas. Haina she'im be'agbos. Hari muvan she'er atzmi b'chinas Ein Sof. Yeah, so this I have to understand. What's the pshat? The Rebbe is going to ask the kasha the hemshich, but okay, we'll see the way it's explained over here without adding other stuff. If you're learning now the hemshich of Samavav, maybe we'll go into things that negay here. But if you're not learning it now, it's not going to have also more focus on the way they brought it here. Good. So we'll start the Elam Halshem about Anabim weiter. Because this Indian is a ganz Indian. It's an Indian b'fnatz, but this whole parsha, because I was getting it to Eir and Shefa. So we'll start on Thursday, I guess. The Elam learned to from Rabbi Shefa B'chlal, ever? Or the first time learning it is here?
I learned Rabbi Shefa.
Yeah.
Which Amarim? You remember which Amarim you learned?
This is the famous one. I think is it in Atar? Where's their famous one?
From the Rebbe Shaz Amarim. Zeschukas is the...
Yeah, Zeschukas.
You learned that Maimer. So, okay, so we'll go through... We're not going to go through the Maimer. We'll go through the way it's here. We're not going to start... we'll focus on what it's here. At this point, they don't understand in this sif, what the Rebbe is saying here. I'm just saying, I don't know, this etzem vart, that in the Chazal, Tikkun Ezer, that's a rad, itself goes on the air, that's a chiddush. And the fact that the air is inside, we're going to see Behemshech, that's a chiddush davar. That's a chiddush davar. Yeah, I just wanted to add this point, that it's not Stam asking, the Pelecharim is not Stam asking that, why, he can't say that Ein Sof is Kayal Asos, because we should have used the higher term. It's more than that. And the Ein Sof, as a result of Kadvin, is a deeper touch of Ein Sof. So if you want to speak about the Ma'ila Ein Sof that Atzmos has, for that also you should use the term Ein L'Tchila. Because the Ein Sof, as a result of Ein L'Tchila, is a higher definition of Ein Sof. Ein Sof as Stam as is a certain Ma'ila of Ein Sof, which has certain limits. I mean, that's in them Bashtez Ma'ila that is Blikvol. And that's the Blikvol which has certain Agbalas. Mash'inkin, the Ein Sof, Ves Neveh, from Ein L'Tchila, the fact that the Eibusher has no, is beyond all inyan. He's beyond any idea. He's the Mitzvah Samtzis, which is beyond any term, any before anything else existed, he exists. Before any terms, any ideas existed. That is unlimited. He's unlimited. It can be anything. It's not. The Musik of Ma'ila Shlemas doesn't either exist. There's only him. That's a whole different Indian, and that's already a deeper. Good. So Kaplan, Maskana Sadvarim is that we speak air. The air. We want the Maskana here is that the air itself is unlimited. It's Ein Sof. And we say the air itself, it doesn't mean like Nivraim. It means that the air has no hefsek. Not like Nivraim. That by Nivraim you say the Shemesh is really something which could stop. Technically speaking, the Eibusher gave it energy that it's going to last forever. But it's not that the Shemesh is Zamisur. You can't say a Shemesh or Ein Sof. The Shemesh is a limited thing. The air but is Ein Sof Taka. It's not. It's Yesh L'Tchila. Because the air has a makir. His makir is the Eibusher, and he's Tali Beratzna B'er. So you can't say the air has no beginning. He's a Mechuyev HaMetzias. The air is a Mechuyev. Gilui, the whole idea of Gilui was invented. It's not Mechuyev. But la'acher that inside the Eibusher's Ratzon there should be a Gilui, there should be enough air, there should be Bizgalos, there should be enough air of air. The air has no limits. The air is Ein Sof. Has no agbalos. We could relate the term Ein Sof to the air. This we're going to have to explain to the Hemshech. How could you relate the term Ein Sof to the air? And that's what we're going to be explaining. If it has a tchila, so then it should be the Avram Mugbal. What does it mean? We're going to see in the Hemshech Hadvar.